What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines surrounding the Washington Wizards. So make sure you like and subscribe down below. Drop your comments with any thoughts you might have on the video, whether it might be about Summer League or anything you just might want to hear me talk about in the future. I appreciate all of the support, you guys. Again, let's keep it rolling here on Wizards Latest, and let's jump right in today. So, we got to talk about another record setting Summer League performance from this young roster. I want to talk about how it shows the defensive focus continues to be present here with this front office. And then the last couple topics I'll have today are really stemming from conversations I've seen you guys have down in the comment section about the potential starting lineup this year. Really, there's an interesting situation starting to brew now at a couple of different spots, and I want to talk about it. So, again, thanks for all the support, and let's dive right in. Jamir Watkins was outstanding defensively in the Wizards Summer League matchup. Game number 3 of this year's Summer League against the Philadelphia 76ers. The Wizards lost 74 to 58. It was really probably a little bit closer than that until later in that game. And despite the disappointment of going 1-2 to start this summer league off, there continues to be impact performers coming out of the last two Will Dawkins draft classes. Jamir Watkins, of course, the biggest headline coming out of game 3, finished with 10 points, 5 rebounds, a couple assists, and then 8 steals and 3 blocks. The 8 steals matching a summer league record. I thought it was really interesting on the broadcast. They actually said one of the other guys that had 8 steals in a summer league game was Cam Whitmore, who we've recently added. Really impressive defensive performance from Watkins. Obviously did a great job on VJ Edgecombe, really limited him, especially in the first half. Things to work on for him offensively, didn't shoot it really well, but it was an impressive defensive display. And more on my point, really, of the draft picks over the last couple of years. I know the record is 1-2, and that's slightly disappointing, even in Summer League, but sort of as we might have really a theme all year long, despite the record, there's still positive takeaways. We've seen all of the players Will Dawkins has selected in the last couple of years that have played in this Summer League, and not the guys he's traded for, the guys Washington has actually picked, make impacts here this summer. Whether it's Trey Johnson being excellent in both games, Keyshawn George was the best player for us in game 1, despite struggling a little bit in game 2. Alex Sarr really got going offensively in game 2, and then was tremendous in both games defensively. Will Riley has a nice game 2. Bub Carrington got a nice game 2 going. Obviously, game 1 against Phoenix was a little bit more lackluster, as you can kind of catch on to. And now we have second rounder Jamir Watkins making a defensive impact. And while so much is always made that Summer League doesn't define a career, it doesn't mean everything. I think I would much prefer these first round picks or just these draft picks to make significant impacts and show off their potential than just completely struggle. And I have to imagine you guys agree with that. I also think, like I said before, embracing individual success this year is going to be huge for us Washington fans because we don't know what the results are going to end up being really on the court as a team. So, I want to talk a little bit and just about how this Jamir Watkins performance continues to show this front office prioritizes and focuses on defensive value, especially when it's with the young players that are added to the rosters, particularly the guys, 20 to 22 that have either been drafted or traded for here in these last couple off seasons. Whether it's the wings and the versatility that they've looked for, you think players like Cam Whitmore, Bilal Coulibaly, or even the big guards like Jamir Watkins, or even a guy like Trey Johnson, where Will Dawkins constantly, every time you hear him talking about Trey Johnson, he's talking about how I want him to improve defensively and how I think there's more there of his defensive potential. And then obviously you have Alex Sarr, who is potentially the future centerpiece of just a scary defense with Sarr just, in his shot blocking ability and athleticism in the middle, and then potentially being surrounded by a whole bunch of versatile defenders, it could be really an interesting and impressive dynamic in not so long. So let's move on to a little bit of the discussions I've seen down in the comments from you guys, and I'd love to see them keep going. Kind of just about the starting lineup for next year. And now that we've seen some summer league action, I think it's a great time to sort of jump into those conversations. We're going to continue to have them here this offseason. But let's start with the guards and let's start with the backcourt. It seems like Bub Carrington is a lock to start right now at the point guard position. Now, you might think about that however you want. I'm excited about Bub. I love how Bub plays. Started to get going, as I mentioned, in game 2 of the Summer League against Brooklyn. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in that game. I love his size at the position, at the point guard position. My big question is, is he going to be able to run an offense effectively and really set everybody up and kind of get everybody involved? Because just from a development standpoint, getting everyone in the mix and getting everyone their touches is going to be a big key this year. And if Bub can't do that, and if he can't really distribute the offense the way he needs to, it could hurt things from a development perspective. So, but again, I still think Bub kind of a lock to be, at least our starting point guard at this point, which means at the two guard spot, you kind of have, an interesting dilemma. Does veteran CJ McCollum, who's averaged 20 points per game for the last 11 straight seasons, I looked up that the stat, I couldn't believe it. Almost a 20-point per game scorer for his career. Does he really come off the bench? And honestly, in my opinion, yes, because I don't think you send Trey Johnson to the bench. I think you want to see him get as many touches and develop as much as he possibly can. And at this point, he doesn't really project as a future six man. He projects as a potential star. And I want to see him on the court as much as possible. So unless you're going to go really small and start them both and really struggle defensively in all likelihood, I imagine one of them has to take a seat at least to start games. Last point, sort of on the guard situation. I know a lot of fans are super high on AJ Johnson. There's so much talent there, but especially after watching him here in the first few games of Summer League, I think he's really better suited actually for his role in the first couple games of Summer League before all of the Washington starters, at least from the first 2 games, were shut down. I think he's just better as going to be instant offense off the bench. I just think he has a lot of things he's got to polish right now with his offensive game. I saw one comment from a Twitter user I was kind of chatting with last night that said he just needs to find some direction. And I think that was the best way I could really put it. But again, I think he could kind of be a lightning rod for us, offensively off the bench, even at this point in his career. So moving on to sort of last topic today, in similar conversation, but I'm looking particularly at the wings here on this roster. And obviously, it's been a big discussion point. Right now, the roster, of course, oversized. It's over the limit right now, and there's so many wings. And I think that wing battle is really going to be an interesting competition once you get around to training camp. Because again, think about it. Alex Sarr is starting at the 5. You have a combination of either Bub, Trey, and CJ starting at your, 2 guard spots. That means you got 2 starting positions really left to compete over, and it's going to come down to Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Cam Whitmore, and honestly, after his summer league efforts, I would probably throw Will Riley in that mix a little bit as well. I think Bilal right now probably a favorite to start, just as the guy this coaching staff and front office is already most familiar with. I would be surprised if he falls out of the starting lineup. But hey, Cam Whitmore right now has probably the highest ceiling of that group if you really think about it. And Keyshawn George has shown, a more refined offensive game coming into this season. So I think that battle is really, really going to be interesting. And again, I just think there's so much competition with the 20 to 22-year-olds right now on this roster. They're going to have to bring their A games once training camp rolls around. So remember, last Summer League matchup coming up this evening against Utah. We'll chat about it tomorrow. Make sure to like and subscribe down below. Drop your comments on anything you might have heard in the video. I appreciate all of the support, you guys. Let's keep it rolling here on Wizards Latest, and thanks for watching another episode.